Mr. Rod Walsh, bring it up.
G'day. I've been struggling with withdrawals lately, so I need to try another form of contraception. Been thinking of getting my nipples pierced. But that's not a segue. I just want somewhere to hang my keys. Did you hear there was a bit of drama at the White House today when President Trump announced he was going to nuke the Chinese? Turns out he was only reheating his leftover fried rice. What I really want to tell you about tonight is my neighbour, who I'll call Joe. That's not his real name, but just in case anyone here knows him, I want to protect his privacy. But Joe's an old bloke. He's a widower, lives with his daughter, who's probably early 50s. And I don't see the daughter very often, but I usually bump into Joe about once a week and really enjoy his company. And he's a good neighbour. We do favours for each other. Sometimes he'll do a bit of gardening for me. I take him to medical appointments. Why he wants to go to my medical appointments, I'm not real sure. And speaking of medical appointments, I had my annual prostate examination on Monday. The doctor gave me the big thumbs up. Thank you. Yeah. Joe was impressed with that too. But I hadn't seen Joe for a while, and then I bumped into him a couple of weeks ago, and he said his daughter was away on a business trip. So I asked how long she'd been away, and he didn't answer. He just walked inside, and then he came back out holding 3 empty pizza boxes and said 3 days. Joe also, he discovered that if you mix vinegar with bicarb of soda and water, it makes a very effective yet non-toxic weed killer. So he decided to spray a few weeds around the front of my house. But unfortunately, he's got very poor eyesight. So as well as spraying the weeds, he also accidentally sprayed a few of my favourite plants. And then he sent me an email to apologise. And because of his poor eyesight, he uses voice recognition software to help compose the emails. So instead of saying that he'd sprayed vinegar on my plants, the message read, "I've sprayed vinegar on your pants," which was equally disturbing. The lady who lived opposite Joe died recently, so I drove Joe to her funeral, and this lady was very religious. So the funeral service was held in a church. Joe hadn't been to a church since his wedding day about 60 years ago, so he's not really up to speed with the latest protocols for churches. And partway through the service, the minister said, he asked us to turn around and greet other members of the congregation. He said we could shake their hands or give them a hug, or if we wanted, we could rugby tackle the people in the next pew. Were you at the same funeral? It's weird, right? But as well as having poor eyesight, Joe's also a bit deaf. So instead of rugby tackle, he thought the minister said you could rub your tackle on the people in the next pew. So Joe's now been banned from ever returning to that church. Speaking of churches and religions, has anyone here ever been inside a mosque? No one? No, I haven't either, but I've always wanted to. And then last Saturday, there's a mosque out in Ellsworth Street, out near Sovereign Hill, and they're having an open day. And unfortunately, I was busy doing other things all day, so I couldn't get to it. But I thought it would have been a great opportunity to get to know a bit more about the Islamic culture. And apparently, visitors on that day were allowed to try on a hijab, or the male equivalent, and they had cultural food tasting, face painting, henna art, and a jumping castle. And that's the thing that really interested me, because I've always suspected that they had jumping castles inside mosques. Because every mosque that I've been past has had this lineup of shoes outside the door. And have any of you guys ever been to a concert at Festival Hall in Melbourne?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. What did you see?
Billy Joel, Elton John.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Not
shows?
together. Yeah, they were fantastic.
Yeah, great.
You've got to get back to the 70s though, to get him here again. But
That's all right. Did you hear there was a concert there last month, and part of the ceiling fell down during the show? So some fell on the stage and some fell on the audience.
I did.
You did hear that? Yeah. Do you know what the name of the band was that was playing at the time? Bad Omens. Yeah, I reckon it's a bad omen when the ceiling starts falling down on your show. Talk about blowing the roof off the joint. But do you know what caused that to happen? No. Confetti guns. Like, what sort of guns are they using? Like rocket launchers, bazookas. I reckon they might want to tone down the intensity a bit for their next show anyway. But on the subject of music, it was the 90th anniversary of Elvis Presley's birth on the 8th of January this year. And one of the news reports that I heard on that date said that meant if Elvis was still alive, he'd probably be dead by now. And that prompted me to do a bit of research about Elvis and his life. And I found out that Elvis married a lady named Priscilla in 1967, and then they divorced in 1973. And when asked why they divorced, Elvis said he wanted a little less conversation, a little more action. Come on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, right.
Very good. Keep that applause rolling. We'll go straight into our next act. No need to stop. Yeah!